Most people think that when you write a book, you're at the finish line, but we all know that, well, we may not all know, but actually that is just the starting gate. So today I have with me a guest. Her name is Dr. Peggy McColl, and she helps accomplished leaders stop blending in and start being understood. She is a New York Times bestselling author. She's a trusted advisor, and she teaches authors and thought leaders how to align their message to gain real visibility. I love that. That she helps them turn their ideas into meaningful impact and sustainable income. Because when you write a book, you want to try to make some money off of it. Absolutely. So, this conversation is really about clarity, positioning, and how to make your message work for you and not the other way around. She is the creator of several signature programs for authors, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. She's got one program that's called the Conscious Author AI Method Mastermind. It's a mouthful, y'all. And she is going to talk to us a little bit about that today as well. And what it really takes to gain visibility, to be intentional about your next move, what it takes to sharpen your brand and position your message so that doors will open for you. So, welcome to our podcast, Peggy.
Thank you, Zelda. I'm so delighted to be here. I love what you're doing in the world and how you are so focused on bringing greater value. It really shows in everything that you do.
Well, thank you. That is what it's about. It's about showing your value. And to me, that was a turning point. It took me a long time to learn that, but it was really about more about giving than it is receiving. So that's what it's about. And that's what the show's about is getting your message out there to the world. So I wanted to ask you right off the bat. I mean, it was a mouthful for me to say the Conscious Author AI Method Mastermind. Tell us a little bit about what brought that on and what it's about.
Yeah, I find that, some people approach creating a book and bringing it out to the world for different reasons. There's some people that, want to do it because they think it's a money earner or it's their ticket to paradise, right? And I mean, it can be, and it certainly has been for a number of people. But I love working with people who are conscious about making a contribution. That's why I really felt so aligned with you, Zelda, because that's, who you are. Like, I love helping the difference makers, the people that are out there consciously have chosen to make a contribution to the world, and they will be rewarded. We're all rewarded when we put out good in the world. So that's where the conscious author came from. But I've also been using AI since it came out. And in fact, I'm in the process of launching something really exciting, which blends AI with personal development. And it's a new business that I've started. I've incorporated with a business partner. It's called Aligna. It's very exciting. And so I find that technology has been such a gift to this world. I've been involved in technology ever since I graduated from high school. And AI can really help authors. Now, I do not suggest you use it to write your book or anything like that, but it can help you expand on ideas and help you create some flow and sort of edit your work and give you some feedback and things like that. So there's more of an authentic way to use AI for an author in many different aspects of the author journey, in the creation part and in the promotion part. And so that's why I decided to create this mastermind. Because another thing that I find is that people tend to work well when they're together in a group. And I've run group programs for years. And, it's like they inspire each other and they lift each other up. I mean, I'll guide them. And so we're going to start a process of, we're going to start on day one. They're going to be actually writing together, getting live feedback and working on their accomplishments as we're going through this mastermind. So it's really about those that have said, okay, I'm committed to getting this done and I'm excited about the guidance and I want to be part of a group of people that are actually taking action. And that's
Are
what the mastermind part
Peggy,
is.
are these people writing fiction or nonfiction or both?
Both. Yeah, both. In fact, we have one lady who's writing a children's book as well. And I've done that. I've written fiction, nonfiction, and a children's book as well. So it's anything they want to create. And some people are writing because they want to create, giveaways that they're going to use to build their brand or, build their following. And other people are looking to create a series of books. I have one author who's looking to bring on a series of books in the fiction category and anonymously. He doesn't want his name to be out there in the world. He's kind of shy and simply wants to get these ideas. He's so creative in his imagination, get these ideas out there in the world in a bigger way, but he has to get them done first.
That's interesting about the series. One thing I learned when I wrote my first book, The Art of Bouncing Back, where there were a lot of other books that were very similar or the same titles, and that kind of shocked me at first. I was able to
Right.
get the domain name, but I was like, "What's with that?" And then I learned it was like, "No, you don't have copyright on that name unless you're writing a series."
Yes.
And
That's
if you write a series, then you absolutely can own that name and nobody else can use it. Is that still the right thing?
Absolutely, definitely, yeah, absolutely a part of that. The other thing is for anyone that's writing a book today, and as you know, Zelda, there's so many books that are out there in the world, you've gotta write something that is going to stand out, and this is one of my latest books, The World Doesn't Need Another Self-Help Book, and it's kind of an odd title for a self-help book author, right? Somebody who's been in this space.
Stands out.
Yeah, it definitely stands out, and that's the idea, get the attention. Now, it says the truth behind real success, and there is no way I am slamming self-help or personal development or growth. It's really, what I found over the years and working with so many people is that a lot of people really pat themselves on the back for the number of books that they've read or seminars that they've been to or programs that they've graduated from, and yet they're not actually doing the work or the work that actually works. And so that's why I really felt inspired. In fact, that idea came to me back in 2007 or 6. I think it was 2006 where
I
the idea
understand that. Yeah.
yeah. And so, that's I have 28 books. This book was released lately, like about a week or so ago. Don't
Right.
Make a Million Look Small. And that book was in the works since 2012. So a lot of these, ideas tend to percolate, they sort of sit on the back burner, if you will, simmering. And then when you get that inspiration, like, it's time. And even this one here, which is kind of fun, this whole idea of writing a children's book, I was sitting on my sofa one evening with my husband. We're probably watching sports because he's a sportsaholic. And I was thinking about my daughter-in-law who's written several children's books and won awards for children's books. And I remember thinking, hey, maybe I should write a children's book. And so I just started working on it. And it didn't take long. In fact, I wrote it that evening. And it was fun. It was so much fun. And I did it because I wanted to, just sort of expand in what the proof, of what I've personally accomplished. Because I've been working with authors for a couple decades now. And I feel that, and I'm sure you agree with this as well, we have to earn the right. We have to earn the right to be the expert in whatever it is that we're doing in the world. So if I'm out there helping fiction authors, I should be a fiction author that has created success. In fact, I wrote a trilogy that I have an option is being made into a movie. And so, all of the things that we do, we should do it from example, like, sort of lead the way by actually applying what you're speaking about or teaching about,
What you
etc.
know.
So, yeah, that's what you know. Exactly. And it could be from experience, it could be from wisdom, it could be from your passion, whatever it is. And everybody has a book in them. And as you know, and you're an example of this, multiple books in them.
Mhm. I've got 2 books that I wrote back in my 20s, so this will date me. You know, when you used a typewriter and onion skin paper?
Oh, yes. I remember that.
Carbon paper kinda stuff, and they're still in a drawer. I never published them. Well, I pull them out once in a blue moon, and they're still good. They
Okay.
still have a good message. I don't know, I just one day, I guess, I don't know what day that will be. And then I had a book in my mind. It's a fiction book. Most of the books that I've actually published, they're all nonfiction. So I
Right.
had this idea for a fiction book in my head probably 30 years ago. And I started writing it, and then I said and so there were still computers in 30 years ago or whenever it was. So I tried to find it probably about 2, 3 weeks ago. I said, "I think I should write that book." Couldn't find it on the computer anywhere, and I went, "Well, that's okay because I still remembered what the book was going to be about in my head." So I started
Nice.
writing it, and it was interesting what you said, "Write about what you know." So I had this one scene where people were they were equestrians, and they knew about horses, and I thought, I gotta change this because I don't know squat about horses. It's like, I gotta write about what I know.
That's funny. That is
So,
so
but AI can help you with that because I could
funny.
so AI did help me a little bit with telling me a little bit about, going to the Kentucky Derby and things like that, and so I use that
Yes.
to help me with the parts that I didn't understand.
Absolutely, that is a perfect example. I had a client, she's a lawyer in Ireland, and she had written a fiction book. In fact, she wrote a fiction book about leprechauns because Phil Goldfine, who's a good friend of mine, he's an Academy Award-winning producer from Hollywood. Him and I were in Belfast speaking at a conference there. And this client of mine wanted to meet him. So I arranged for the meeting and we had a meeting and she was telling him about the book ideas she had. And Phil said, I want to do a movie on leprechauns. She said, I'll write the book. So she wrote the book. She sent it to me to send to Phil, and I did. He read it. He came back to me and he said, okay, here's what's wrong with it. And here's what needs to be fixed. And I made a bunch of notes. So I told her and she said, ah, forget it. Like it was just like too much work.
Too much
And
work.
so I said, well, let me play with it a little bit. And I used AI. I went into AI and uploaded what she had written, and she was fine with this. I got her permission. And I said, here are the recommendations that we got from a Hollywood, film producer. And it actually edited it and we added in all the parts based on, and then I sent it to him and he was like, yes,
Perfect.
like bang on, you nailed it. And then I was thinking, well, he needs a screenplay. And so I asked Chat, like, can you write screenplays, based on it's like, absolutely. And so we did the screenplay as well using Chat. And so there's so many things that authors can do with AI that there may or may not be even be aware of. And that can just help, help take your idea to the next level. And same thing with, your fiction book, with doing the research or expanding in areas that you're not familiar with. It can absolutely help with all of
And
that.
then another thing that I had done was I had put one scene with these people in Spain, and I thought, "Why Spain, Zelda? You've never been to Spain, but you've been to Italy. Just move it to Italy."
Right. That's funny. I remember back in 2012, I was doing these seminars called Make a Million Look Small, and I did a presentation on authors that had earned $100 million or more. And fascinatingly enough, most of them are fiction authors. The majority of them are fiction authors.
Oh, okay.
Right? And we think about 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, there's an example of a woman who got an idea. I mean, obviously, kind of like an extreme idea, maybe felt uncomfortable with bringing that kind of book out there into the world. But yet, in her first year, she earned $95 million. Like, first book, first author, incredible.
That is amazing. Amazing. I can't imagine on your first book. Like, she's just
Yeah.
on top of the world. So let's shift the transition a little bit about if people feel, how can people use a book to gain financial, income?
Yeah.
How are they gonna do that? People don't
Yeah.
understand that you don't just write a book and now you're getting rich like this woman just did. That's not
Right.
normal. That's the abnormal.
That is definitely the abnormal. In fact, when I released my first book, I've done 28 now, but when I released my first book, I just made a very ignorant, meaning not knowing, assumption. And that was that you release a book and, the buyers will come. And that was not what I experienced. So I thought, it's a great book. Why are people not coming? And
Right.
so I realized I needed to learn how to market a book. And I went to this seminar, and one of the speakers said, if you're an author and you've published your book, 5% of your job is done. And I remember sitting there like, what? Like my mouth hanging open, going, that was a big job. And he said 95% of any author's success is the marketing. So we have to learn how to market, our books, obviously. And that's when I became very passionate about learning what does it take to market a book. And so where do we earn the money was your question. And first of all, a physical book, like this book that I mentioned, I released recently, I self-published. And the book is available in Audible, and I went to a professional studio to record it. And, I've got the cover designed, it's a Kindle, it's Audible, and paperback. That's 3 sources of income right
Mhm.
there.
Right.
And so, of course, that's based on sales. So I have to promote it. I do a number of different things, but I allow my inspiration to also, come to me or through me, what different things to do. And, when people read it and they love it, they tell their friends. Like I've had
Right.
clients tell me, I bought a case of them to give away to everyone that I know.
Yeah. I do that.
That's when you know you've got a great idea, a winning idea. And word of mouth is always going to be the best way for any book to go viral. So how do you create word of mouth? Well, 2 things.
Yep.
Write a great book that you believe that people would want to tell their friends about. And 2, get out there and promote it yourself in a variety of ways. In fact, I read about a guy that self-published a book. He's 69 years of age. He self-published a book in 2023. It is a fiction book. first book for him, and he started to promote it through book clubs and go and speak wherever he could to promote his book. And the first year, I think he sold around 3,000 copies, which is
Pretty
good. I mean,
good. That's pretty
pretty good,
good.
yeah. And the next year he sold about 25,000. He never stopped promoting. And then it started to sell to the tune of 1,000 copies a day. And that's when a publisher came after him from it was a Simon and Schuster imprint called Aria Books, and they bought the rights to his book. So this guy is like now swimming in the money from a book. Now it takes patience, it takes discipline, and it takes time. But if you're willing to do the work, then you could reap the rewards. That's something I love about being an author is the only prerequisite to get into this as a career is desire. I mean, that's it. Do you want to do it? And if you do, there's no end to where you can go.
I have
That's
a lot of people say to me, Peggy, they'll go, "Oh, you wrote a book. I'd like to write a book. I don't know where to start." And I always say, just start putting your information on the computer. Start typing.
yeah.
Start. That's how you start. So for some people, it's about their message and it's like, I'm looking for a simple way that people can tighten their message so that people understand their value.
Right, right. I think it's in stories. It's absolutely in stories, like examples, people that you work with. Like I remember when I work with, this woman. In fact, I have a client that's launching her book today. She's a surgeon. And I started working with her in a private mentoring capacity. She did not come to me to write a book, but somehow that came out of our conversations. And she wrote a book called Timeless Vision. And it's a phenomenal book. I wrote the foreword for her book, and she's going to be migrating away from her career as a surgeon, an eye surgeon, actually,
Wow.
into this new area of empowered aging. And so, how we really get our messages, share stories, because people will naturally understand what it is that you do when they hear stories of either your success or your
Yeah.
client's success.
No, that's true. They do. It's like even when you're speaking, it's always about whatever your golden nugget is, tie it into the
Right.
story. Yeah. So
Yes,
people
yeah.
relate to that. So, what's a common mistake that you see people make when they're trying to build visibility that just works against them?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably one of the biggest ones is imposter syndrome. It's more of the emotional, experience that's going on within themselves. Like they've written the book perhaps, or they've created whatever it is, their service or their product or whatever they're doing in the world, but yet they don't feel they're worthy of success, or they don't feel that they have accomplished enough and it's usually about that. It's about not enoughness. Like, who am I to? Who am I to write a book? Who am I to be a coach? Who am I to be a speaker? When? And they just constantly sabotage their own success, and that's the imposter syndrome.
I think most everybody I've ever met has admitted to having imposter syndrome. I've only met one person ever who said, "I've never felt it." But other than that,
Really?
yeah,
That's
person was
surprising.
I know. It was surprising, but it was okay. But I know I certainly have.
Oh, yeah,
How
me too.
everybody. So how do you help people stop sounding generic when they talk about their work?
Yeah, you have to, talk about you, your personal life experiences, what happened to you. Like, I know nobody else could write my books because in them are all my own stories. In fact, I have a study club and we were studying this morning, we were reading a chapter on identity, and we're studying this book right now. And I talked about when I had the struggle, I wanted to buy my son. I have an adult son now, and I wanted to buy him a new truck, a brand new truck, and surprise him. And I felt this struggle of responsibility, and it was like the old identity was like, is that really the wise thing to do? Maybe you should use that money and put it into this investment, or, do something else.
Right.
Yeah, or you know what I mean?
Oh, I
And
do.
yeah,
I've got
and
2
that's
adult kids, so yeah.
right. And that's the story I can tell, and in, making a million look small or make a million look small, I tell a story about how I bought a house. I had no clue how I was going to pay for it, and it had a pretty hefty price tag with it. And I knew I had to get it on my own way. And I talk about that as a story in my book. In this book, which I released last year, I talk about when I was diagnosed with metastatic cancer and how that was like, quite the shock, if you will.
Mhm.
And I mean, all of those are my stories. Now, do
Right.
people have similar stories? Absolutely. We all have our stories. You have your stories, I have my
Oh, yeah.
stories.
And
So
some
this
that
is
are buried deep.
Right? And, and I really that's why I love, authenticity. That's why, when I sort of looked at who you are and what you're doing in the world, I just felt that authentic part of who you are. Like you're really here giving. You're in this world giving and contributing and all in a very beneficial way. And that's about value, the value that we bring. You see, I think people feel our heart. They'll feel our heart in everything that we do. There's like energy. There's energy on your website. There's energy in your book. There's energy in your socials. There's energy in your
Right.
emails. And people feel it. They just
Yes.
feel it. They get to know who you really are.
And that is what it's all about, making those connections. That's why the show
Yes.
is called Success Through Connections, because it's really about being authentically you. You're not for everybody, but that's okay. It's like
Yeah,
people who
absolutely.
who you align with, those are the people who you'll connect with. So besides writing a book, what are some other effective ways that business leaders can gain some visibility and credibility without feeling like they're constantly self-promoting themselves?
Yeah, and that is such a good question as well. I mean, we're living in a world where we're so well connected now.
Mhm.
There's so 6 billion people online, and it's through online channels, and we don't have to be everywhere all at once. I mean, we don't have to be on all of the channels. You could easily create a YouTube channel and start communicating messages. But with anything that we do, we have to remember it's not about us. It's always about them. And there's somebody out there that needs what you have, whether it's a tip, a strategy, an idea, an experience that you've had, your wisdom, maybe bringing in other people's wisdom, other people's examples, like something. And if you just approach it from a place of how will I bring greater value to another person today? And that is where you act from and operate from, you will find you will naturally attract people to you. So I feel I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. That's my purpose. In fact, I had a little marble thing created a while ago, years ago, and it says my purpose. I'm here to make a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of hundreds of millions of others. And that may sound big and bold, but I'm so blessed to work with so many authors. I mean, I've had clients like client Wayne Dyer was a client of mine, Marianne Williamson, a client of mine, Neil Donald Walsh. Like I've worked with many extraordinary people, and then unknowns. Robin Sharma, well, actually, who's known, was a client of mine as well. So I've worked with unknowns, knowns, people that were absolutely nowhere. Marie Forleo was a client of mine, over 20 years ago. And so, that's how I feel as an expert, whether author or not, we should be approaching this world. How can I help another? People need help. They need help.
Yeah.
And we got this wonderful vehicle to do it.
I think that's brilliant. So if someone is doing all the right things, they're not seeing momentum, what's the smartest shift they can make to make that first effort to get where they want to go?
Yeah, they have to be there now. So it's like you have to go to the other side of it. You have to operate from the outcome. You have to know that it is already done. And that is really what this book is all about. The world doesn't need another self-help book because most people are trying to get somewhere. But if you think as the person, if you act as the person, if you assume the identity of that person that has already accomplished the goals and you be that person, it's far more effective. There's no struggle involved in that because you're already there, right? You've already accomplished the things that you desire. So it's a change in behavior for sure, but it's really a change in identity. It's,
Mhm.
how you see yourself and what you feel about yourself.
It's that mindset. My husband used to say, fake it till you make it. That imposter
Yeah.
syndrome. It's like just keep plugging along, right?
Right, but, fake it well. Like, I think about Sir Anthony Hopkins, who's a wonderful actor who's won Academy Awards, and he played Hannibal Lecter. Now, is that who he is?
No.
But I remember he was interviewed one time and he was asked this question: "Do you ever find it a challenge to step out of that identity, after the filming has stopped?" And he said, "Absolutely," because he becomes so consumed in it. And I watched an interview the other day with Timothy Chalamet, who played Bob Dylan, in the Complete Unknown, and he was just saying the same thing. He shut off all communication with the outside world. He wasn't texting anyone, he wasn't calling anyone because he was assuming the identity of Bob Dylan. He had to become Bob Dylan. And wow, did he ever do a good job of that? And that's what we have to do. We have to create what is the person? What is it? How would you describe that person? And then you become that person.
That's
Fake it till you make it. I assume, it makes sense for sure, but it has to feel natural. It has to feel like this is real. Now, at first it won't, There's gonna be some work involved, you gotta keep working it, you gotta keep doing the exercise mentally, emotionally, and then it'll get to the point where it's like, "Oh, yeah." Like, of course, not ego, it's just a sense of certainty that you have within your heart.
Yeah, that's good stuff. It's very good stuff. So, well, tell us, how can our audience, if they want to learn more about you, they want your help in writing their books, getting them published, self-published or a publisher, how can they
Yeah.
reach you?
Easily, just go to peggymccall.com, and we have, like, support at peggymccall.com will come right into our email address. Me or one of my team will get back to you, and that's it. I mean, that's probably the best and the easiest way. I mean, I'm on socials as well, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I am on all those socials, but going through, like, email is probably the best way.
Okay, that sounds great. And we'll make sure that's in the show notes so people can reach you. Okay. And I have
Wonderful.
one more question. It is that signature question I ask all my guests. And you ready for it?
I'm
So
ready.
you're ready. Okay. So has there ever been an opportunity that presented itself to you because of a connection that you had?
Yes, I was blessed to meet Bob Proctor in 1979, and I was a very young girl at the time, and actually I was suicidal, and I mean, his information and his seminars really helped me transform my life. I mean, he didn't do it, I did it, and, he would never take responsibility. But he saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself, and he really encouraged me to bring out that version of myself, but he constantly introduced me to his audiences. He wrote about me in his books, he invited me to speak on his stages, and even though I would be, like, shaking in my boots, before I'd go on the stage, he would, whisper in my ear that, "Somebody out there needs to hear what you have to say, and just be authentic, be yourself, and give a value." And he constantly invited me to connect with people that were following him, to maybe hear another perspective. But I think also one of the things that he loved is he loved witnessing people that did transform their life by applying what he taught. And that's really important. It's not enough to know this information. We got to live it. We got to embody it. We got to apply what we're learning consistently every single day. And that's who I am. I became a dog with a bone. I wrote a book called Be a Dog with a Bone because if you're not, pack it in, give it up, baby, because
I
it's
have a
there's
real estate postcard that has a picture of a dog with a bone, and it talks about I'm a dog with a bone when it comes to real
beautiful.
estate. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't look at that ball. I don't let the bone go.
Yeah, I thought you could relate to that from your own experiences.
Definitely.
So,
I like,
yeah.
yeah, that's why they hire me actually. It's like, 'cause I'm gonna work hard for you. So thank you so much, Peggy, for joining us today on Success Through Connections. And I hope that you listeners out there that you're going to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss future conversations just like this one. And remember that success does not happen in isolation. It happens because of those connections that we have. Connections really are currency and they are the power move of today. That is our show. I'm Zelda Greenberg. In addition to hosting this podcast, I am a realtor. I help people navigate life's biggest transitions with clarity and with confidence. So I'll see you next week with a new episode of Success Through Connections.